Good morning. It's a new day. I am so glad to be on this morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a new day on Focus on Liberia. Thank you for joining me this morning. My name is Priscilla Nyenator. I am your host for a new day today. On a new day, we talk about issues in our society that obviously affect people who are not males. So girls, women, gender non-conforming, gender non-binary people. This is a time to think differently. This is a time for us to engage, our perspective, our perceptions about people who are not men and how our society view them. We hope that these kind of conversations will lead to a shift in our mindset and attitude in a ways that we engage with and we consider non-male humans again, non-male humans, people who are not men, they are girls, they are women, they are gender non-conforming, they are gender non-binary, but they're human beings. How has our society conditioned us to perceive people who are considered minority because, hey, as people can say, the world is a man's world. So men are the predominant group when it comes to, the way our world is set up, systems and structures are set up, and how it influence our perspective through our religion, through our traditional values, through our religious values, through our social cultural values and things like that. So stay with me. Feel free to share your perspective, but let it be focused on what we're talking about today. Uh, any question, comment that is not directly in relation to what we're talking about is not going to be highlighted, or questions is not going to be asked. So to show respect for what we're talking about, you will do that by really engaging with us on the issue, on a discussion. Stay with us. The title of this broadcast is Framing the Discourse, the political discourse, and with specific emphasis on how, is it reflects again women, girls, no gender non-conforming people in our midst. All right. I know I went on rumbling and rumbling and rumbling, but that's just the introduction. So before we go into the nitty-gritty of our conversation today, I want to share this clip. So this is the clip of this is an old clip, and I saw it a few years back, and I always go back to it every now and then because I just admire people like this. And you're going to be hearing from her. Is the former Australian Prime Minister calling out the same kind of thing that we're going to be discussing today. So the credit goes to The Guardian. So this video, this documentary, it was done by The Guardian, and we're just playing a clip of that. So stay with us and just let's watch this.
I call the Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and I rise to oppose the motion moved by the Leader of the Opposition. And in so doing, I say to the Leader of the Opposition, I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not. And the government will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. Not now, not ever. The Leader of the Opposition says that people who hold sexist views and who are misogynists are not appropriate for high office. Well, I hope the Leader of the Opposition has got a piece of paper and he is writing out his resignation. Because if he wants to know what misogyny looks like in modern Australia, he doesn't need a motion in the House of Representatives, he needs a mirror. That's what he needs. Let's go through the opposition leader's repulsive double standards, when it comes to misogyny and sexism. We are now supposed to take seriously that the Leader of the Opposition is offended by Mr Slipper's text messages, when this is the Leader of the Opposition who has said, and this was when he was a minister under the last government, not when he was a student, not when he was in high school, when he was a minister under the last government. He has said, and I quote, in a discussion about women being underrepresented in institutions of power in Australia, the interviewer was a man called Stavros. The Leader of the Opposition says, "If it's true, Stavros, that men have more power, generally speaking, than women, is that a bad thing?" And then a discussion ensues, and another person being interviewed says, "I want my daughter to have as much opportunity as my son." To which the Leader of the Opposition says, "Yeah, I completely agree, but what if men are by physiology or temperament more adapted to exercise authority or to issue command?" Then ensues another discussion about women's role in modern society, and the other person participating in the discussion says, "I think it's very hard to deny that there is an underrepresentation of women," to which the Leader of the Opposition says, "But now there's an assumption that this is a bad thing." This is the man from whom we're supposed to take lectures about sexism. And then, of course, it goes on. I was very offended personally when the Leader of the Opposition, as Minister for Health, said, and I quote, "Abortion is the easy way out." I was very personally offended by those comments. You said that in March 2004. I suggest you check the records. I was also very offended on behalf of the women of Australia when, in the course of this carbon pricing campaign, the Leader of the Opposition said, when the housewives of Australia need to do what the housewives of Australia need to understand as they do the ironing. Thank you for that painting of women's roles in modern Australia. And then, of course, I was offended too by the sexism, by the misogyny of the Leader of the Opposition catcalling across this table at me as I sit here as Prime Minister. If the Prime Minister wants to, politically speaking, make an honest woman of herself, something that would never have been said to any man sitting in this chair. I was offended when the Leader of the Opposition went outside in the front of Parliament and stood next to a sign that said, "Ditch the witch." I was offended when the Leader of the Opposition stood next to a sign that described me as a man's bitch. I was offended by those things. Misogyny, sexism, every day from this Leader of the Opposition. Every day, in every way, across the time the Leader of the Opposition has sat in that chair and I've sat in this chair, that is all we have heard from him. And now the Leader of the Opposition wants to be taken seriously. Apparently he's woken up after this track record and all of these statements. He's woken up and he's gone, "Oh dear, there's this thing called sexism. Oh, my Lord, there's this thing called misogyny. Now, who's one of them? Oh, the Speaker must be, because that suits my political purpose." Doesn't turn a hair about any of his past statements, doesn't walk into this parliament and apologise to the women of Australia, doesn't walk into this parliament and apologise to me for the things that have come out of his mouth, but now seeks to use this as a battering ram against someone else. Well, this kind of hypocrisy should not be tolerated, which is why this motion from the Leader of the Opposition should not be taken seriously.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. So that was in another country. Sometimes we like to go out there because, hey, we understand that it's human tendency. Sometimes we take for granted when people in our midst or things that we're familiar with. So we say, some of us been saying these things for years, but then I can be like, oh, it doesn't register. So unfortunately, when it comes from outside, then we'll be like, oh, okay, that's what she's been talking about. But so I did a presentation in a New Day community in the course of last week, and we were talking about online violence. We're talking about GBV, so gender-based violence. In this specific case, or within, against women who are politically visible, women who are in activism, women who are in advocacy, women, female journalists. And so we're talking about those things. Uh, and then, so I just got a call or two to continue on this conversation, or to continue this discussion. I was actually going to have a conversation with one of our prominent, our leading voice in the Liberian society for now, but then something came up and then the guest couldn't make it. So I was encouraged to, hey, we can talk enough about this issue, because for some reason, not for some reason, for obvious reason, is high now. Is high in our midst. It's been happening a lot. Uh, um, in season, a season, especially in season like this, the political season. So online harassment of women in public spaces can take a lot of different forms. Like I said, the last presentation, not on the platform or New Day platform, men and women experience violence when they or attack, and when they get it into public spaces. But there is a specific attack that is gender based and is directed at women and girls. That is misogyny and sexism. It's on the rise right now. It's on the rise. I mean, it's always been there. We always have pointed out at it. Like I mentioned again in the other program, years back, journalists interviewing women politicians, and then they asking them questions that they would not normally ask a male politician. They asking a woman, how many relationships you have, for instance, or who is the father of your child or your children, or some of the things that you would not ask a male politician. So that's being sexist. And the negative prejudice, when rooted in hatred for women and girls, it can be subconscious, it can be unconsciously done, because our society is a misogynistic society. Our world is a misogynistic world. This is a world where women and girls are scrutinized very harshly, very unfairly than men. This is a world in which not gender non-conforming people are scrutinized. In fact, for them, it's worse. This is a world where men say this is what goes, and then that is acceptable, even if it's harmful to women and girls, even if it's harmful to lesbian or gay, even if it's harmful to gender non-conforming people. People who make the rules, people who set the moral standards are men. So that is being sexist, that is misogynistic. It's on the rise now. We say why the internet is not at the origin of this kind of ugly uh, um, situation, unfortunate situation. It has contributed to propagating and perpetuating gender stereotypes, sexism, and sexist hate speech, thus bringing a new and complex dimension to efforts for us to tackle this challenge. Online violence against women and girls can take many forms, but they're not limited to harassment or spamming. Like I define it again on my other presentation, you can check it out. Um, Harassment and spamming is where a perpetrator uses technology to continually contact or threaten or scare a victim. So the girl or woman say, I don't want to deal with this person. I don't want to have anything to do with them. But you keep sending them email and you keep spamming them. That's harassment. Cyberbullying, cyber stalking, where a perpetrator initiates repeated and unwanted contact through emails, text, or social media. You're coming on people and posts, and you know that the girl or woman doesn't want to have anything to do with you, but you keep at it. That's cyber stalking. It can be done through text messages, it can be done through emails, through other forms of social media. Non-consensual distribution of sexual recordings, images, or messages with the aim of harassing or shaming the targeted individuals. This information campaign, this one mainly can happen whereby individuals or group of individuals or government entities can engage in this one purposely to spread false information about an individual or their work with the goal of discrediting the individual and damaging their reputations. And this, I know one of my mentors that I hold in high esteem, and most of us know this person, very strong vocal woman whose opinion carries a lot of weight in Liberia, in Liberian politics, fell victim to that years back. You know, she shared the experience. Those kind of things have mental health implications. The impact is more psychological because a woman is doing a piece of job that is good, and there is no way you can counter that equally. Somebody has a proof, somebody doing a work that you do not even have a counter, but then you go and start coming up with sexual accusation. So that was done to her. So government gets engaged in stuff like that. That is to discredit the person work. um Dosing, where a perpetrator releases a victim's personal information with the intent of causing harm. Um, so online violence is really difficult, um, but it's bad. It has worse implication when it comes to men. I mean, when it comes to women and girls, because you know what, our society again scrutinizes women harshly than men, harsher than men. In fact, we most of us use the excuse that, well, men are men or men will be men. So the things that a woman would be accused of, even whether it was done along with a man, she's the one that is dragged in the mud. She's the one that society think they should judge. I heard someone the other time, women and honor, carry yourself and your honor. And I said the other day, women do not owe men honor. You do not owe your honor. My honor is for me. If my personal affair does not harm you in a way that I'm not sleeping with someone who's going to attack you because they're sleeping with me, it has nothing to do with you. I mean, if you're not going to hold men at that same standard, then you cannot. It's unfair to hold a woman for that. And the reason I kick against men saying women honor. I mean, for the very things that men do, men have multiple relationships, but a woman should not, because no, she's a woman, it's her honor. Women are killed because of that. In most of the Arab world, and I was coming on, I put all my notes together. Honestly, I just could not. I put a lot of stuff together in this one. For some reason, I misplaced it. But I can still share on the video afterwards. But it's that the stats of women that are killed in parts of the world. It's not because of something uh, they did. It's because society had made women the object of men honor. So, for instance, a woman is raped, the brother will kill her, or if she having a relationship, she fell in love with a guy, then the male relation will kill her, either her father, the uncle, or the brother, because in their thinking, she brings dishonor to them. So a woman is now a full human being. I said that here before about different cases are like that. Places that there is war, places that there is war. You see that women are targets of rape because those other group say they want to hurt this other group. So in their mind, the way to really hurt the other group is by raping the women from that country or from that group or from that tribe. Women and girls become the pawn in men showing strength against each other. Women and girls become the collateral damage. Meanwhile, women and girls are humans. We are our own beings, our own persons. When men want to fight each other, even though some of us are against violence. But do you see what the point I'm making? I was going to say there was a situation that I shared here before about a situation where a man, somebody come to hurt him and goes ahead and rape his wife. You say you want to really hurt that man. So you don't rape your friend man, you rape a wife. Then you say you want to hurt him some more, then you rape a daughter. Then you say you want to really hurt him, then you rape his mother. So 4 women, because 2 daughters, a wife, and a mother, fully human, become hurt, become casualty of war between 2 men. When you could just rape one person. By the end of the day, it was the poor man. He cried because his mother was raped. These are the kind of things that happen in our world. Women become collateral damage. Women are not seen as full human beings. The clip that we saw, the prime minister is talking about the kind of way the opposition address issues, serious issues. But the way to come at those issues are not the way you come at it. If a man was a prime minister, if a man was in the opposition, that is unequal treatment. And that's what our new day is against, is working against. Trying to encourage for a world, a society, a world where we will all be seen equal. If you see me as equal, the way you deal with a man will be the way you deal with me. And I know you understand. It's not like in the iron age where people were surviving by physical strength and muscles. So you got to go fight with Chapia or Sansi and Goliath. Who's stronger? We know our world today is functioning based on their mind. And we all have that. That's how we should be measured. So a woman is intelligent enough, a woman is skilled enough, a woman is educated enough. It doesn't require physical strength to fly a plane, to sit behind a computer, to talk about national issue. That's what we should talk about. Please, we need to stop this sexism and misogyny. Unfortunately, every human being was given birth to by a mother, by a woman. But only that woman people will claim that they have respect for. Oh, and that's the same kind of mindset between and behind and people causing each other man. Because for some reason, we say to hurt you, then I got to hurt the woman behind you or the woman in your life. But we carry our partner name. But we never cause our partner. Because our man. This girl, a woman say, and then he started swearing on his mother breast milk. Hey, Baba want you to give birth to you and breastfeed you. Why you not swearing on your pa? But anyway, so we all know what's happening going on now. So I just wanted to for us to touch on that. Uh what are we doing? What are we doing? What's going on? We have an election coming up. We have a lot of issues that we're supposed to be talking about in these elections. Some of us, we live in the US. We see the issues. We see people voting based on the issues. For instance, me, I didn't know most of these politicians in the last one, but I had to go and start researching, start reading on what was this other person's stand, for instance, on reproductive justice. What was this other person's stand? What the utterances they made when it came to immigration issue or access to child care. What where does a person stand when it comes to minimum wage? Those kind of things. Let me read the Pew Review. Just share a few issue priorities. Americans are increasingly worried about China and Taiwan tension. Some 47% of US adults say tension between China and Taiwan are a very serious problem for the US. Up until, since in February 2021. The economy remains a public top policy priority. Just really different issues. Abortion. Abortion rises in importance as a voting issue. When it comes to U.S. role globally, Americans are divided over U.S. role globally and whether international engagement can solve problems. Just different issues. What are our own issues? The role of the media, we talked about it before when I invited Miss Martha Washington, a prominent Liberian journalist. The role of the media, we're talking about framing the discourse. The role of the media in good governance. How much more can we emphasize that to enlighten the population? To provide a platform for debate, to drive the conversation by setting the agenda for the elections discourse. Pushing conversations that focus on the public interest to ensure that democratic tenets are upheld. We've gone through a lot as a country. We went through civil war, killed 250,000 people or so, according to report. 1/3 of Liberians flee, went to neighboring countries. We know what conflict does. Abuse, widespread rape, other sexual violence. We got a whole residue of child ex-combatants today that we refer to all sort of way, Zoko or whatever. But we have a whole population of unskilled young people. There was execution, there was large-scale massacre. Unfortunately, some people who are still alive today, loved ones left in the Lutheran church, we have those issues. Torture. People are traumatized. Now, what happened in our country? We get up, we say, okay, let's have peace process. We're going to have TRC. TRC, what thing we should do? TRC say, okay, we put them to work. They come out, they say, okay, yeah, we're funding. Let me speak where I come from, the way we used to talk. Send that time. We ain't do anything yet. Some of the issues that some of us are familiar with, maybe because we're not on the ground or we're not really in touch with politics in the country. So please just share your perspective. I yours, I your own. But some of what I know about when I was there and when we were working in media, training journalists around elections time, when we're doing election reporting training, the issues to go after. I was privileged to work as a trainer for 5 years before I was able to come overseas. Peace and security, genuine national reconciliation, good governance, rule of law, and human rights, and sexual and gender-based violence, among other issues. What does an aspirant platform look like concerning promoting equality and social justice? Why are we not asking these kind of questions? Oh, aspiring this, so what does your platform look like concerning promoting equality and social justice? Good governance, rule of law, and human rights is very critical to ensuring sustaining our peace and security so that we can go back to those days. There is internal conflict and insecurity all over the place. How many autopsy reports will not dispute things happening in our country? Internal conflict and insecurity are the direct result of the lack of respect for and the protection of human rights. How much are we talking about the culture of impunity and promoting equality and social justice? These are critical issues. Or no, they're not. Sexual and gender-based violence. What in Liberian women not do? Despite the women of Liberia sustained advocacy, we are unprotected. We are unprotected. We are unprotected, together with other civil society and grassroots. Saying they say they do declaration of what state of emergency. Young children as young as 4 are persistently being raped with impunity. Who's asking these politicians and aspirants what their platform looks like concerning this grave matter and how they intend to tackle such? Whether they consider this a grave matter will be reflected in how high it is on their agenda and how much resources they plan to devote to tackling it. Unemployment. It's a severe problem across the entire country. Maybe it's due to skill deficiency. But when people are added, criminality and other evil were bound. That's not an excuse. But when people aren't skilled, they aren't doing anything. Meanwhile, TRC report sitting over there. On and on and on and on and on. We got all these issues where the media should play a powerful role in shaping those kind of conversation. And I know I follow some of the, the news all right. They're doing amazingly. But most of us, I think because of social media, we don't pay much attention to paper anymore, newspapers or even online newspapers like Front Page Africa, like, most of the other papers. Some are fortunate to be affiliating with professional groups like the Liberian Journalists Association of America that you will find in the chat room or the spaces. You will find that we get update and sharing of the local dailies to be able to at least check out the headlines. But it looks that the bulk of us were just exposed to things through social media, and that's where it's not really looking at the issues based on what some of us see. It's just the other person, then the other person sleeping with the other person, and then the other person was then having an affair with the other person. Like, who cares? How does that really bear on how far we have come and how far where we are now, and how we're going to get to from this point to the next point? And even then the other person sleeping with the other person, and the other person sleeping with the other person, it's so sexist. It's not even okay. Then John, we're going to shame you for this. No, it's women and girls that are being unfairly judged and shamed. Some of you who say you are Christian here, then they go to Jesus. Okay, we can argue about, oh no, you're making all things and not what Jesus read. But then we didn't see the author decided not to show that. Someone will say what Jesus was writing is that the woman where your brain say you call her in adultery, who she was sleeping with. Joseph, you were standing over there, you slept with this so and so person. Peter, you were over there. By the time Jesus finished writing the name on the ground, everybody go. And that's the same thing we're doing today. Nobody bringing men in forward. If there is a situation, two men say they getting by each other, the other men say, and then the other man went to sleep with small children, then the other man not kind and say, yeah, you two let it X no more small children you sleep with. No. You did a small children talk, what they talking about, what they accuse the other person of, then you come to see all the day with those kind of things. Yesterday there was the other one about a video about the vice president by somebody or a representative. Like, these people, if they in authority, why are we not accusing them of the things that are affecting us? Why are we not holding them and exposing them? Why do we, when we quote unquote exposing a male, we say, oh, Johnson, you stole, you embezzle, you are corrupt, you did so and so. Why are we not doing the same thing when it comes to the women? Why are we doing that? Like the time you were small, the, do we see the discrepancy? We challenging a guy that we want to warn the public about. We say, for instance, I don't want to call people near, but the other person you were accused of embezzling this and so that male. Okay, well, the woman on dead. Oh, they want, then she slept with this and so. Really? Why are we holding women based on who they slept with? Somebody shared something that I wanted to. I'm not going to say the names of those that he said, but like this is what I've been saying. That, for instance, one of the women politician, high profile politician, somebody say, "Oh, this person here, the master degree is questionable, is fake." From so days, and then the other person here, the owner degree is fake. Or then the other woman here, she receives so amount to do certain things, and she didn't deliver. She needs to account for that money. Why are we not into those kind of conversations? I mean, people, what's going on? How are we not into those kind of conversations? So that the ordinary people can understand whether to vote for these people or not. Honestly, what does my great grandmother, if she was alive and all the way in Barclayville, what will her decision to vote for, okay, for instance, should be happy that, oh, during my time, yeah, women were not even at that level. You never know. Some of our great grandmothers did not have the opportunity to go to school or to get to the level or to see life now, experience life now the way some of us are lucky to experience. But because they didn't, doesn't mean they didn't wish for it at the time. Maybe the time did not allow them because the society was still closed, or they were just something that I may not understand, but they didn't have the opportunity. And they're living vicariously through women now who have reached at that level and being like, I wanted to go to school, I wanted to work in government, or I wanted to do this, and so I'm going to vote. How does it inform her whether she or not she should vote for the person? By telling her that, oh, and then that woman, so she was sleeping with the other person. How does it really, how does that give her a good information? She may be informed to some extent because some of us will argue, oh, she will say, but then she's an immoral woman. And I argue with that one as well, that it's a judgment, it's a value judgment. Because if I'm sitting next to my great grandmother, I'm going to tell her great grandmother the men who she running against also slept with sister A women, but they're not judging him based on that. But my point is, do you see? So you might play on her value, on her quote unquote and value or moral sense. But are you being fair to her if you're not giving her much more than that on why she should vote for certain person? Before I continue, let me see. I think I can see comments here. Thank you, Eugenia. Thank you, Eugenia. Ja, she says sad truths. Yeah, seriously. Seriously. What are the issues? These people that are running. What are the issues? What are the credentials? What are the qualifications? What have they done in the past? Some of them, because again, all things considered, we're not going to judge people in a social vacuum. We know that um, our society was set up as and still continue to happen in a way that um, women and I get giving women are behind because men are privileged and prefer when it comes to education in most family. So maybe education is not going to be everything that we're going to use to judge people. What are other ways that we can measure whether this person will make a good leader or not? What their experience at the grassroots level. Then what day we can hear what year? People doing like, when we're children, the way we were, you were, taught, you heard it, you pick those things up. You pick up as a child if you mad or if you don't get your way. Oh, that's how you disagree. Oh, and then they start beating your mouth. Unlike some now what we do. No, honey, no, baby. I understand you're upset, but you can say that word. It's a bad word. You can express yourself like this, and then you see as people grow, they find a responsible way to express their disagreement. How come some are all say we grown and we just express our disagreement that same way? The only thing maybe we're not just saying, oh, but we're expressing our disagreement just like children, attacking people and not talking about the issue. There was a situation I was involved in, a decision that some group of people didn't like. And instead of people talking about, no, we have an issue with this decision. No, we should go to the drawing board and revisit it. No, we register our disagreement. People left the issue. People leave the issue. Like, what kind of grown-up people do that? And unfortunately, some of us are privileged to be a certain level and still professionals supposed to be watching the national discourse. And then if we haven't developed the skill to disagree in a way. We have not even worked on ourselves to grow in some way, how to express disagreement. How much more with the ordinary person? And that's why we're seeing people who won't be leaders or people who are at a certain level in our society. People say they disagree and they just like that. Just really distasteful. A representative disagreeing with a vice president. And we're not talking about, this is what this person should be called out on because this is the failure. This is the failure. And at every level, I've been just talking with different people and different people just been sharing. Yeah, at every level, even in our local in our chat rooms level where women are in some kind of leadership or not, those kind of way they are agree with like that. It's just like, oh my God. Someone will be like, yeah, I was in group, and then this other, I was in the other chat room, and then this other person, this other lady was the leader, and this is the kind of thing, and then this other lady, sexism, misogyny, the kind of vitriol, especially when a woman is involved, a woman or girl. You seeing guys will get her and say, and don't be emotional like woman, but those are the ones that are really emotional. Because their response, their reaction to things can be like, oh my God, you really fragile like that? It's overboard. Yet they claim women are emotional. Okay. Anyway, so I wanted to talk to us. Just about that. And a lot is happening. We're continuing, you know, our elections as a country. I mean, Liberia, is still, I still feel months away, and we have to really redirect our energy. We have to redirect our energy. If we want a different outcome this time around, want a different result, we want something much more tangible, let's identify what the issues are. What are the issues? Can someone please share? Let's identify what the issues are. And let's talk about those issues. Let's ask questions about those issues. Politicians telling us they're going to build bridge over troubled water in the next 2 months. Let's find out from them. Who are the engineers? Or who advised them that this bridge can be built over troubled water within 2 months? What technical advice they got? What the assurance they got that the money they will get it? Or who the source of that money? What are you now going to influence the decision in the future on who they award contract in our country? Where they getting the money from? If it's from outside, how much that impact will have bearing on our national politics, those kind of things. And there are issues like, again, I say, that I may not be aware of. But no, the one we've been hearing of late, I don't think that's the issue. As a Liberian, I ask for more. Please, just give us more. What's happening that people younger than me wouldn't know the difference just because everybody have access to Facebook? It's not how our country direction is determined. For videos to be saying here and there, and oh, you hear Priscilla and the other person sleeping together. Oh, really? Then tomorrow, women are still being attacked, children are still being raped, victims are still going to the police station and police raping them too. Then on top of it, the police officer will run away and then a friend and say they can't find him. Or police asking victims for money to be able to go carry out arrest. Those things will still be happening. People will not have pen to wear with at the magisterial court in St. Jane. Like one of the politicians said, women will still be going to give birth at some clinic or hospital, and no gas or generator can come on. And I mean, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So much problem we have people will be dying in the mud on Grand Jita Road or Sano Road because they got stuck, the car got stuck, people getting down out of the car and the mud jet same way, people being swallowed up. Their bodies are being brought from one part of the country to another on motorbike in the mud. How can we talk about these issues? Parts of the country is so inaccessible. You can imagine the parts that are accessible, the kind of things that are happening. I'm talking about the parts that are not. What's going on? These people that are vying for leadership, how well are they aware of these issues? How involved are they? How many times some of them go visit those places? Some of us used to drive on those roads to go to community radio stations to do training. And with mud full in our noses and everywhere. We spent 4 days in the mud before we finally get to maybe Greenville or somewhere. Then you go low, the superintendent or the senator or somebody flew with on mail jet. Just 1 or 2 hours a day. And you are going where with his or her people. You were in the mud for how many days? Are those things still happening? How will it be different this time around? What will be done differently? I get 1 hour. I wanted to stick on 1 hour. So maybe let me just wrap up quickly. This should not be a women issue. So I try when I'm talking not to say, oh, so my women, you need to, because women should not be burdened with human rights issues. The issues are adversely affect that don't affect men and affect other people are human rights issues. It should not be women issues. The only thing I get to say to people who are women or consider themselves women and girls, we can have our differences, but misogyny and sexism happens because you are to you or to someone else because of their gender, because they are now a man. So no matter how much the issues that we may have, let's speak up against violence that are gender-based. Audre Lorde said, I am not free while any woman is unfree, even when her shackles are very different from mine. I am not free while any woman is unfree, even when her shackles are very different from mine. This is a case of survivor. For my brothers, uncles, our spouses, men in general, if you consider yourself men, and other gender non-conforming person, in the different spaces we find ourselves. Because I have people sharing with me recently about those things happening in all these different spaces. To a woman who is visible, speak up against something like that. Do not avert your eyes. Do not leave it to be a woman issue. When something is unjust, it's unjust. When something is unfair, it's unfair. May all of us be judged, scrutinized in how fit we are to be leaders in this time, not based on our gender, but based on merit. What we're bringing to the table, what we're capable of doing. I will just leave people's private lives alone. I know some of us not used to seeing, because hey, we've been conditioned for men to say, oh, it's a woman thing, I will not talk in it. So few men that are now moving away from that conditioning and unlearning that and learning new things to say, hey, no, this is not okay. It doesn't make sense to the average man to say, for example, why would Dennis be talking for Priscilla? So the next thing that will conclude will be like, oh, I think they're having, something happening. So maybe you're afraid, if you're a guy, you're afraid of something like that, being accused or something like that. So you're in a space and you don't want to speak up. Posterity will judge you based on your stance on issues. Remember that. Whether you man, woman, boy, girl. If wrong, you're in a space where something is happening that you see to be unfair, someone is being treated unfairly, especially based on their gender, it's a new day. It's a new season. Register your stance. Most of us are Christians. I recognize our other religions. I recognize Muslims. I just mainly can talk to Christians because that's them I know. That's my background. So this is not to erase Muslims. I'm more familiar with Bible stories. Jesus was talking about, oh, then it's Samaritan. Whole day we go to church, we see those kind of stories. Be that Samaritan who they didn't pass by and say, oh, a really cussing. I was saying that they play to cuss the girl. And you can't say anything. They say, oh no, man, this is unacceptable. Okay. It's a new day, it's a new season. We'll keep talking. I'll be back on hopefully next Sunday. I will get a guest and then we'll continue to talk about the issues. If you have an idea, feel free to share. But I gotta go. Before I go, let me end with this other clip. Oh, you kidding me? Let me end with this other clip. So this is again from the same media entity, The Guardian, where one of the male politicians were being very misogynistic, and his friend had to call him out, and sexist. His friend had to call him out. We'll continue to do it, especially in this political season. If these things continue to happen, some will continue to say, no, the issue is this. That's what we're talking about. This one. We want to talk about that issue if we apply it across the board. Like if you want to talk about who sleep with who and how many persons slept with how many persons, we're going to talk it across the board. This is not going to be applied to people based on their gender. That is sexism, and we're going to call it out. For instance, if somebody call you rebel and they rebel, you call them rebel. But if you're going to call each other man whore for sleeping with each other people, okay, then we can say it will across the board. What we're not going to take is trying to shut women out, trying to slushing women, trying to keep women out of these spaces by using your honor. Women should respect themselves, women should carry themselves. Women, especially if you don't have a track record or speaking to men using that same standard. You do not, you are not being seen or heard pointing that same behavior out in men. You're not going to apply it on women. And then some of you who consider yourself the voice of reasoning, in our society. Do the right thing. Don't be selective. You got the other person and you're not speaking, or the other person and you're not friends. Some of the people these things happen to, I don't know them. We're not friends. But I'm speaking up because it's a societal concern. Because you hear like Audrey Lloyd say, when one woman is not free, I consider myself not free, even if our shackles are not the same. A people can say tantra not from bride alone. Tomorrow it happened to the other person, you will extend it. It may be different scenario, but it happened based on our agenda, that gender-based violence. And on New Day talk about those issues, so we're going to continue to talk about them. All right. I'll talk to you next Sunday. It's a new day. Again, as I wrap up with this, we'll catch up with you next Sunday. Have a brand new day, new with a thinking, new perspective. A blessed week. Bye for now.
We have endured on this side days of sexist filth coming from that man.
Senator
He
Nyenator,
is a pig,
Senator
and
Nyenator,
he should
okay.
consider
Senator
and reflect on the standards he
Senator
is adopting
Nyenator,
in this chamber.
Senator, resume your seat.
As the person in this chamber of which the reprehensible and disgusting comments were directed to by Senator O'Sullivan, I want to make it very clear that I am thankful for Senator Nyenator standing up and calling them out. That is what real men do. Real men don't insult and threaten women. They don't slut-shame them, and they don't attack them and make them feel bullied in their workplace. I have sat in this chamber for weeks and weeks, months, and heard the disgusting slurs and attacks coming from a particular group in this place. And I, for one, am sick of it. And I know many of my female colleagues on all sides of politics are sick of it too. And I will name you, because you are not fit to be in this chamber, you're not fit to represent your constituents, and you're not fit to call yourselves men. Senator O'Sullivan, Senator Anning, Senator Bernardi, Senator Lionhelm. You day after day come into this place and hurl insults across this chamber, play the gender card, and the moment anyone stands up to you, you have the most fragile glass jaws of all. You are cowards.
Order.
Every time you get
Senator,
called out,
Senator
you refuse
Hanson-Young.
to be stand
Senator
by it.
Hanson-Young, Senator Wong on a point of order.
Okay. Again, thank you for joining me today, and goodbye.